So now that we have this project completed, you're going to want to save it, and this is what you'll be submitting. So what I'm going to have you do is just do a save. If you haven't given it a name, it'll ask for that at that point. Make sure you name it. And I'm going to begin a new drawing. So I'm just going to go to New, migrate to the Settings tab, Drawing Settings. We're going to set the ambient settings up for angle. I like to see angle list out in degrees, minutes, second. I'm going to generate a point at the start project, 5,000, 5,000. Just going to do it by northing and easting. I'm not going to really worry about any of the settings because it's just going to be a marker. For the description, just hit enter, and for the elevation, just hit enter, and then you can escape twice. Close your point tool, do a zoom extents, see your point, zoom it out a little bit. I'm going to pan it down. That's going to be the point we're going to attach our line to. So we're going to come up here, use the line tool, create line by bearing. That's our given information. The first specified point is this guy. It's not prompting me for northing and easting, so I'm just going to hit a O-snap node, snap to that point, make sure you get that green node symbol, click it. Got your instrument down there on the point, you've got the foresight, and you've got it backsighting north. So you notice it wants to know quadrant. We are quadrant 1 for northeast. Bearing is 56.1230. The nice thing is we can enter it as a decimal degree kind of look, but it actually is taking it as a degree minute second. Distance 1000. Hit the escape twice. Zoom extent so you can see your line, and notice it should be in, and I'm kind of going to keep it over in the corner here like that. So I want to list that just to make sure everything's good. Analyze. F2. Looks good distance wise. 56, 12, 30 northeast. We're good. So I want to go back to home. We're going to generate the next curve. So we're going to use the compound curve routine, but this requires us to have a curve in place first. So what we're going to do is generate a curve from the end of object. Select your object near the end you want to come off of. Tell it you want to use a radius as the design. And this is a degree of curve arc, which is actually already in place. So we're going to tell it 1000. And then D for delta. And this is a delta to the right. So that's a positive 30 in this case. There's our arc. Now we can go into the compound curve routine. Select your arc object. Tell it it's compound. Give it the radius. D for delta. Again, it's a positive delta. And now we have a nice compound curve that we've just developed. If you open up F2, it does give you curve information. So every time it's building it, it's kind of nice. It's generating that for you as you go. So now we're going to generate a line from the endpoint of an object. And we're just going to specify the distance, and it knows that it will be tangent to that, 500. And there we have our nice tangent line. And again, shows the bearing and the distance that it just put that in it. Okay, so we're going to build a reverse curve now with a 45-degree angle and a radius of 250. Again, we have to have our curve in first. I'm going to use a radius. Here I have to be careful because I have to flip it, so I'm going to use a negative radius, 250. Tells it it's going to go to the opposite direction. Delta, and the delta is 45. Notice how I put that in. That sometimes takes a little playing with to get it right, but that's kind of how that's going to work. There's again your information. Go to our curve routine, create reverse or compound curve. Select it, This time we're going to create a reverse, and the radius is 250, and it's a delta of 25. Whoops, let me back out of there. I must have hit something incorrectly. Reverse, radius is 250, delta is 25. There we go. Again, curve data, everything's in place. So one more thing, one more line. We're going to do again from the end of object, which is a really great tool. Just specify distance, 750, and there's your alignment. So if you zoom it, you kind of see what I gave you as your schematic. So to turn this into alignment as a snap, what we're going to do is go into the alignment routines, create alignment from objects. I'm going to pick this guy first, and then I'm just going to use a window crossing. Notice how the arrows are going the way I want that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. We can just let it call it whatever it wants here. Center line, I'm going to use 0, that's fine. This is proposed. Get rid of curves and erase existing, and there it is. Change your scale factor a little bit. You might be able to see your text a little better. And then if you zoom up, you'll notice how this has recognized now that this is actually a compound curve. So you can see PC, PCC, PT. We come here, you got PC, PRC. So it's very, very nice the way it's aligned it. If you click on it, what you'll notice is your alignment. Actually, you can show you where the PI is there. Now, there are some interesting tools when you get into the edits. If we look at the geometry editor here, you've got a lot of different tools you can deal with here. One is I like the grid view. The alignment grid view gives you a lot of parameters that you can check out. Now, most of them are locked up at this point. If you don't constrain them here or you lock the parameter sets, then you can have some access, but you can see most of these things can't be changed. If I do start to unlock some of this, it will let me change some of the ways that things can be created, things like radii and other things. You can see, though, in this case, it's either radius or degree of curve, but that has a lot to do with the parameter type that you've got here. Also, you got to make sure that when you're doing certain things, it makes sense, because it'll give you cautions if it doesn't. It's also nice, notice that when you're talking about what they call a sub-element within it, or sub-entity within the alignment, you can talk about each one of those. You can see that. And each sub-element or sub-entity is actually numbered. Now, another tool that you have here is this guy, where you can actually get into a sub-entity and then open up information about him. So hit the escape key, just click on this curve right here. Oops, I wanted to do this first. Hit this guy and then pick on that. It'll pick up that sub, and it just looks at those layout parameters right there, and that's just talking about the curve there. So you do have, again, some more flexibility and things you can do. Anything that's not grayed out you can change. Again, you got to be really careful. If I do something in there that doesn't make sense, since these things might be constrained to something else, it could screw it up. So you've got to be kind of careful how you're going to do things. But in general, that's a really easy way to create an alignment. Again, nice tools in here for curves, nice tools in here for lines, and then the combination of those things together to build your alignments. These tools can also be used to build your alignments, although I find these a little bit harder to use myself. But again, I think it's personal preference, and depending on what you use and use routinely, you'll pick up good things about all of those. So that concludes this lab, and good luck working on Lab 3.